Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is Muhamad Naqiuddin bin Abdul Razak and my metric number is 265440. So for the topic of limitation of activity-based costing, I'm going to talk about the limitation number one. For the limitation number one, that is activity-based costing is time consuming. So without further ado, here are my presentation. Okay, so now we move on to this slide. Based on our topic, that is the limitation in activity-based costing. For the limitation number one, as I said before, activity-based costing is very time-consuming. So for the point number one at the top of the slide, it is said that ABC will be of limited benefit if the overhead costs are primarily volume related or if the overhead is a small proportion of the overall cost. So since there are a lot of steps and groundwork required to come out with a costing based on this system, it is quite a time to consume, meaning that a company have to consume a lot of time, or a lot of time have to be spent in order to come up with the steps and groundwork of this activity-based costing. Other than that, collecting data for the ABC system is very time consuming because as I said before, there are a lot of steps and groundwork required to come up with this costing. This problem gets more significant and more prominent when the company is at the beginning of the ABC implementation process. They are not familiar and professional at this ABC costing system. This statement was produced by Kaplan and Anderson back in 2004, and back in 1991 already said by Polymony. Next, Handel back in 1997 said that problems such as collecting what information, how and where make the situation deteriorated. So, moving on to the next point of this slide, in installing an activity-based costing system is technically difficult. It is required that a talented workers or a professional and a substantial amount of time, meaning that if you have a professional, if you have a talented workers, then it will be easy for you to install this activity-based costing. Otherwise, it will be difficult, and more time need to be spent on this activities-based costing. So some companies miss the point that overhead is not only about cost more fundamentally, but also about the process. As I said before, the process takes a longer time because it is a lot of work, and the groundwork need to be done in order to succeed in this activity-based costing system. Okay guys, now we are in the last slide of our presentation. So I hope that the things that I said in previous slide you all understand and clear about the things that I have said before we move on. Okay, without wasting any time, I'm going to continue my presentation for this final slide. One of the obstacles to adopting ABC, meaning that the obstacle of time consuming, is that it requires a building management's thinking, meaning that a lot of thinking process, a lot of discussion in thinking about this ABC costing is a lot, and that is why this is very time consuming. Other than that, in educating employees at all levels about implementing ABC may be the most difficult task of all, because not all employees are professional in these matters. Okay, last but not least, measurement must be tied to the ABC numbers, and the daily decision-making process often must be significantly altered. This is said by Ness and Kukuza back in 1995. That is all. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lynn Bennett, matrix number 269433, and I'll be discussing the second limitation of activity-based costing, which is ABC costing is not suitable for small manufacturing concerns. Why is ABC not suitable for smaller companies, you may ask? Well, firstly, one of the factors is that because the cost of ABC is indeed very high, especially for small businesses, the implementation of this costing system could cost a fortune, which is why it is not widely used among small businesses. Furthermore, when you have a lot of overhead costs and a lot of resources, ABC costing comes in handy. ABC isn't worth the effort and won't provide insights in any scenario with a low overhead. Similarly, ABC makes little sense in the business that sells a single product or performs a single service, which is typically the situation in most small businesses. ABC might not be appropriate in a custom production setting either. You can typically use job costing to generate good product or service profitability measures in the custom manufacturing section. This is any business where you manufacture particular goods for specific customers. In the instance of a single-family home builder, for example, job costing can be used to track revenue and expenses by task, and that job costing can be made able to provide the detailed profitability by product line data that ABC is known for. Keep in mind that ABC is primarily a method for better allocating overhead costs. It would cost a lot and there's not much resources being used in order for them to implement this ABC system in a small business. As implied earlier, these are the types of costing activities used by ABC. Each time a unit is manufactured, unit level actions are carried out. Providing power to run processing equipment, for example, would be a unit level operation. Regardless of how many units are in a batch level operations are done each time it is handled or processed. Purchase orders, machine setups, and quality tests are batch level processes. Product level activities are actions that apply to individual items and must be completed regardless of the number of batches or products produced and sold. Product design changes, warehousing, and storage costs for each product line, for example, are product level tasks. Regardless of which customers are served, or which products are produced, or how many batches are run, facility level activities are carried out. These costs are administrative in nature and include building depreciation, property taxes, plant security, insurance, accounting, and many more. Customer level actions are unrelated to any single product and are only related to specific clients such as sales calls and catalog mailings. As you can see, it is not necessary for a small manufacturing company that only produces one or two items or services to implement all of these activities when calculating cost, as some activities may not apply to the needs of their company. This is a reinforcement of why ABC is not popular among small manufacturing firms. Next, ABC has different levels of utility for different organizations. Larger firms that are in better financial standpoints can afford ABC. It also depends on the pricing, if the firm is able to profit from ABC costing or not. It is highly likely that the firms that depend on cost plus pricing can take advantage of the ABC costing system. However, for firms that are using market-based pricing, they may not likely use the system as it is a high risk of loss for them. Furthermore, the level of technology and manufacturing environment needed to implement the ABC costing system is another factor that drives away the relatively small businesses from using this costing system.
Hi, my name is Faizah, binti Muhamad Bagir. My matrix number is 272154. My group is presenting about the limitation of ABC, and I want to elaborate about the difficult to evaluate costs on the basis of activities. Activity-based costing is a methodology for more precisely allocating overhead costs by assigning them into activities. Once costs are assigned to activities, the cost can be assigned to the cost object that use both those activities. The system can be employed for the targeted reduction of overhead costs. ABC works best in complex environments where there are many machines and products and tangled processes that are not easy to sort out. Conversely, it is of less use in a streamlined environment where production processes are abbreviated. ABC is a system you can use to find production costs. It breaks down overhead costs between production-related activities. ABC is also a costing method that assigns overhead and indirect costs to related products and services, such as workers testing a product. ABC is a two-step method of costing whereby costs are first allocated to identified activities of a business and then from activities they assign to products or services. Thus, it determines which processes are doing well and which ones need improvement. Other than that, ABC is mostly used in manufacturing industries since it enhances the reliability of cost data, hence producing nearly true costs and better classifying the costs incurred by the company during its production process. Manufacturing business with high overhead costs use activity-based costing to get a clearer picture of where the money is going. This is because ABC gives specific production cost breakdowns. You can see which products are actually profitable. If management is not thinking to use ABC information, an absorption costing system may be simpler to handle. Activity-based costing systems allow manufacturing companies to more accurately allocate overhead expenses to specific products, as multiple cost drivers are used. The other levels of activity that are accounted for by activity-based costing are unit-level activities, customer-level activities, production-level activities, and also organization-sustaining activities. Talking about why it is difficult to evaluate costs on the basis of activities, this is because the choice of both activities and cost drivers might be inappropriate. Improvement of business processes since activity-based costing will allocate indirect costs for each product. The business processes will become more clearer. This accounting method of costing recognizes the relationship between costs, overhead activities, and manufactured products, assigning indirect costs to product less arbitrarily than traditional costing methods. However, some indirect costs such as management and office staff salaries are difficult to assign to a product. Therefore, the reported application for production tasks do not appear as favorable. Activity-based costing data may easily be misinterpreted and it should be handled with care, especially when it is used in making decisions. Some basis of cost allocation may be required at the cost pooling stage for items like rents, rates, and also building depreciation. However, ABC has a number of limitations or disadvantage. A primary disadvantage of ABC is that it is not possible to divide some overhead costs such as chief executive salary on a per product users basis. For example, in a factory, the number of hours a machine runs determines how much electricity is used and how much we'll have to spend on maintenance. The focus of the activity-based costing method is on those activities which increase the variable or overhead cost of the product. Manufacturing overhead must be accurately allocated to a product's cost for manufacturing companies to set product sales prices and determine if products are producing profits. The accounting costs incurred to maintain such a system can be prohibitively high. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jivesri, anak perempuan David Chelliah, and my matrix number is 271784. I'm going to explain about the third limitation of activity-based costing, or ABC, which is not easy to select the most suitable cost drive. The benefits obtained from ABC might not justify the cost. The cost driver is the factor that creates or drives the cost of the activity. Therefore, ABC focuses attention on cost drivers, the activities that give rise to cost to increase. For example, in a factory, the number of hours a machine runs determine how much electricity is used and how much will have to be spent on maintenance. However, some indirect costs, such as management and office staff salaries, are difficult to assign to a product. The complexity of a production process and products tended to be higher for those using ABC, and ABC companies operated at capacity more frequently. This will help in the proper allocation of resources for profitable activities. Activity-based costing focuses on identifying the activity required to make products, on forming cost pools for each activity, and on allocating overhead costs to the products based on their use of each activity. Activity-based costing is not useful to small companies. When using ABC, the total cost of each activity pool is divided by the total number of units of the activity to determine the cost per unit. It takes more work and commitment than other forms of costings. Each overhead cost, whether variable or fixed, is assigned to a category of cost. The point here is that managers must beware of using per unit cost information blindly for decision making, particularly if a significant change in the level of production is anticipated. It is still able to track all direct costs. Therefore, it increases understanding of overheads and cost drivers, and makes costly and non-value adding activities more visible, allowing managers to reduce or eliminate them. It is impossible to allocate all overhead costs to specific activities. Activity-based costing cannot be accurately used for external reports because of the multiple activity rates involved. Labor and materials costs are considered direct costs if they are incurred during the manufacture of product and can be directly allocated to that product. Calculating an accurate manufacturing cost for each product is an important piece of information for a company decision making. In contrast, with activity-based costing, you take into consideration both the direct and overhead costs of creating each product. You recognize the different products require different indirect expenses. In such companies, activity.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to Dr. Ridwan. My name is Aqilah Syahira binti Abdul Aziz with the matrix number of 265455. Today, I will be explaining about the fifth point of the limitation of activity-based costing, which is the fifth limitation is activity-based costing is more complex for management and stakeholder. Why I said it like that? Okay, first let's go through for the first point, which is ABC can be more complicated to explain to the stakeholder of the costing exercise. Okay, ABC system require management to estimate the cost of activity pools and to identify and measure the cost driver to serve as a cost allocation base. This is because some basis of the cost allocation may be required at the cost pooling stage for items like rent, rates, and building depreciation. Okay, next, we move to the second point, which is activity-based costing also need to produce two separate reports. Why I said it like that? Because first, activity-based costing system does not comply with the GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principle, and the company has to produce its report for internal and external purposes. Okay, by using the ABC system, traditional and ABC costing system that need to be maintained in the same time. So, management cannot use it when putting together the financial statement and the balance sheet. So, management also cannot use the ABC to calculate the cost of goods sold and ending inventory. For financial statement, management need to use the traditional costing system such as job order costing and process costing. Hence, activity-based costing system also produce the report that are different from the profit and loss report produced through the traditional costing system. Okay, next, ABC system also complex in gathering data and information. This is because most companies understand how big a job in gathering data and information needed to set up an ABC system after implementing it. One reason is that ABC is much more detailed and complex to compare with the standard cost accounting. Okay, traditional systems come together many costs into a few heterogeneous overhead pools. So under ABC, each of these pools are often broken down into activity, and it may take hundreds of inquiries to identify and gather the information about them. Okay, similarly, an ABC system is used many more statistical measure than a traditional system. And then, activity-based costing system also using multiple cost driver and overhead rates is more complicated and more costly to use. That's all from us. Take care, stay safe and stay at home. Thank you.